Wait, this is 100?
This is 100.
Oh, I thought it was me starting.
That was you starting.
Okay.
You set it off this time.
Okay. Yeah. Still here. Number 100. I don't know if we'll be getting our couch by 20 or by 1,000. 100.
By 1,000. We should have it by 1,000. What is that?
Numbers,
20 more years?
Numbers don't work.
We'll have to make it a daily podcast. Then we can hurry up and get it in the next 3 years.
Just an excuse to get a couch for him. I don't know if I want a couch. I'm still contemplating. I like that couch, but I don't know if I want it.
I mean, we could wheel out that couch.
Kind of expensive.
And just see if we like it.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay. It's like an introduction. Maybe you have to cut this out because like every episode we talk about a couch.
No, it's very important to have nonsense in the first 5 seconds. Oh, it's still over there. Yeah,
because I guess the topics are so. This topic is a little interesting. I'm reading. So wait, I've finished the Osho book. I am reading. I'm still reading Tom Canyon's Hathor book. I'm finishing that one, and in the meantime, I started Tom Canyon's Arcturian channeling book. And so, Arcturians, I guess, like if you brushstroke them as far as like what everybody says about them, is that they are like very technologically advanced and much more so than like other species. And, if that's a generalized statement about them. And then in the book, they kind of highlight that they're very mission oriented. And so this was interesting. This is not the topic, but maybe this kind of segues into the topic. So when we first started the path of spiritual awakening, right? When I got my smack in the face, I started not to understand the difference between like what is the difference between God and then like other species, like other extraterrestrial species, right? And then through the last, how long has it been? I don't know, however long has it been? It became very clear, it just through the, accumulation of all the material that we have like seen and I have read, and then just like my general channeling, and then just general outcome that like there's creation, there's the source of creation that is basically kind of like a unified field, like a unified consciousness that permeates everything that we are an emanation of, right? And then there's all these other emanations, like countless of emanations of that same consciousness. Mm. And some of them are more advanced and some of them are less advanced. And I don't have no idea why. I haven't like, obviously that is like, well, duh. But I did not realize that. And so I did not know where to put extraterrestrial species that have higher advanced technology that we mistakenly branded as gods or as
Viracocha style.
Well, yeah, like right when we see, I think, yeah, very like right, like we see someone possess power that we don't have, and the primitive cultures in the past just branded them as gods. Like, oh, they can smite us with the power of their whatever. Therefore, we must obey them, and then therefore, like Old Testament style, therefore they're God.
Yeah, and they have technology such as the Ark of the Covenant,
whatever. Right? I mean, they literally have telepathic ability that they can, talk to you into your brain, and then you like feel like you're not having your own thoughts, right? Like to not understand that that's just like a way that they communicate, as opposed to like, oh no, this being is literally in my head. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I do. Besides all of this, I did not know where to place them. Like, I did not have, and then maybe because obviously through my own safety triggers,
place them on a totem pole of.
Oh, just like what? Yeah, where do they fit? Like, where does this God fit into the other God that I feel? Right? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And if I feel like the universal presence of consciousness, and I know what it is like to be part of it and like permeated through my being as consciousness, like where do they fit into that?
Yeah, we could do a
whole bracket.
We could do a whole episode on that. That we could do that top down, and then maybe even bottom up, from like me, my ego, my persona, my higher self, my soul, my spirit? What the difference between those?
Yeah, maybe. But I think this does relate into the topic. And the topic is actually the makeup nature of reality, like how the reality is made up of, right? And I think this does kind of segue into it, is because from the standpoint of just rudimentary interpretation, there's one universal consciousness that is not identified by any religion or any spirituality belief or anything. It's quite one without any identification. It's just the source, basically. If you want to call it the source, if you want to call it God, if you want to call it universal consciousness, if you want to call it wholeness, oneness, whatever.
I mean, the Kabbalion talks about it and says that, it's unknowable. It's like it's just a fool's errand to try to understand it.
Yeah, but unknowable because, well, there you go. Here's why. It is unknowable because you, as an emanation of that consciousness, is experiencing one interpretation of its ray.
Yeah.
And therefore, you're experiencing your ray.
Your experience is definitionally limited compared to the entirety of the universal consciousness.
Of it.
Right.
Right. But your goal here is to experience this ray.
I was going to say, it's like, can a computer ever understand itself? And then I'm like, well, can a human ever understand itself? And I'm like, well, maybe. Maybe we can.
Well,
so maybe that's a bad example. But
we are emanation of that oneness, wholeness that is projected into us / through us. And then as we are having a very individualized experience, that is part of the oneness, that is the permeation of all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then from that, you go into perceived laws of physics and how these emanation experience themselves in, physics is the wrong term, but like in our 3-dimensional form, physicality, right? And in the 5th-dimensional form, extension of physicality and more blending of understanding that you're light and you're not solid matter, right? So you are a step above to where you understand that you're something bigger than what we understand that we are.
Yeah.
And then it goes all the way up to where you're basically like light, and then the consciousness is light. And so you understand that you're part of consciousness on this segue exploration of self, but you're still in a non-form concept of self. But you have this consciousness that emanates through you, but you're without form. And so therefore you're able to reach into all of the permeable ways of that consciousness, but in a non-form matter.
Right. I mean, that's, remote viewing or even like dreaming or meditating or visions are all a prayer. Those are all, our feeble experiences and interpretations of that. But yeah, it's we're all nodes in the greater consciousness scheme of things, but because we are directly connected to it at all times, just a direct link.
Well, no, we are actually in it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a better way to
like the ray is an expression. Yeah. We're the universal makeup of all things is consciousness. Like
right.
We are quite literally in it.
So the idea of me, for example, non-conventionally communicating something to you, whether that's telepathy, whether that's ESP, whether that's some sort of like you can feel my emotions empathically or something, is not at all far-fetched. That's perfectly reasonable. And if you want to step outside of that, a person to a rock, a person to a star, a person to a planet. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the humanity struggles with feeling a larger set of information and then not understanding what they're actually feeling and then basically thinking they're going crazy all the time.
We're all conditioned, especially in the West, to think that, especially in the United States, where individualism is paramount, right? It's all the individual, right? What are we? We are a collection of individuals. Emphasis on individual, but that's really alienating from everybody else, because you're you, and that's it. There's no sense of, and I don't even mean societal connection, although yes, that too. But it really emphasizes how separate we are from each other under that mindset. We're not as opposed to maybe I don't know, Buddhism or something, where you have this cyclical life that your life is eternal, and you're just this is one instance of it right now.
Yeah.
So now we've got something that spans all time, and it's not like here. It's like everybody just has the idea. Okay, I'm here in this sack of meat. Best case, I get 80 years, and then back to dust. That's it. Poof.
Yeah, it's hard for me to just be in that space. But yes, I'm sure that's how people interpret it. Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, no, okay, so let me see how that segues into it. So in the book that I mentioned earlier, the Arcturians are different Arcturians channel different messages, and some of them channel like an explanation of like how they understand reality / to help us understand our reality in order to open ourselves up to larger reality, right? Or in fact, the actuality is we are opening up to larger reality, and this is them trying to ease the process of us not to go crazy with it, right? That's the truth. So I will read, and I'll read it slowly, and then I don't know if you want to flash it, because this is like 3 paragraphs, but this is kind of like where I want to go with this conversation. So the baseline realities, parallel realities, alternate realities, and multidimensional realities, all classification of perceptions are relative to the perceiver, right? All systems of knowledge, including science, are subject to revision, meaning the perceiver dictates the outcome, and then science is interpreted through it, right? Because we interpret science through observation. And if we start observing something differently, then we redefine science, right? Like quantum physics all of a sudden doesn't fit into anything, right? Any system or classification should facilitate the elevation of intelligence, not obscure it.
Say that
Any
again.
system or classification should facilitate the elevation of intelligence, not obscure it. Right? So meaning defining solid terms and sticking to them for the sake of sticking to them undermines the expansion of intelligence, thus exploration of consciousness.
Right.
As opposed to growth to consciousness.
You could almost interpret that in outside of the realm of science, in that there are societal, religious, political.
Well, they said including science, but systems of knowledge.
Okay,
right. So all knowledge.
Yeah, but societal, religious, political things that would not elevate. What did it say? Elevate intelligence.
Well, you see, so Arcturians say they kind of with it. So, and this is interesting. This is another conversation I want to have. They're born into their mission, and I have an Arcturian that I converse with on a regular basis, and it's really strange because energetically, he says that like their name determines their destiny or like their purpose.
Yeah.
Which, I kind of mentioned it in the past because to me it was like such a shocker, because then I started wondering about free will and all this and all that. But somebody else that we heard that converses with the Galactic Federation has come across Arcturians, and they said this too. Like some of them literally, not some of them, all of them are born vibratory for the destiny that is not an obstruction of their free will, but a facilitation into a full expression thereof. And I would argue to say that same thing is done to us with our idea of karma. and we just don't understand it. Right? So when we think of them being born and their name dictates their destiny, when we're born, our name dictates our karma. And then when we interpret the set of our life experiences, is actually the same thing, except on Earth, we experience the emotional range of development. And with them, their mission is their expression of action into the world. Do you see what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying?
But specifically our given name?
Well, he said that, because we started talking about like, oh, I don't remember what the question I asked him. I remember, and then he's like, oh yeah, I have many children, and I'm like, what brings you joy? Like, what do you find joyful about your children, right? And he said, an interesting thing, but it was strange. I found it strange just because as a mother, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thing that I would have not said about my children. And I'm like, so what are your children? He said, well, on Earth, we have hybrids, right? I have hybrid children that are raised by us until a certain age, and they're giving to Earth mothers to be raised. But their name is their purpose. Like, I don't remember the exact word he uses, their purpose is their destiny, right?
In as much as like in the ye olden days, if your last name was Baker, that meant that you or your father was a baker, that type of thing.
Yeah, but this is like, remember we talked about Aphrodite? Like, Aphrodite is representation of love,
not as opposed to does.
Bakery. It's like your essence, right? And so this goes into this then. So your embodied life in 3-dimensional space, so us, now they're talking about us, is the baseline, and baseline is in quotes, of your reality. And so in that case, I would say your embodied life is your vibratory frequency that you came here to experience. And that is, in their case, what their destiny would be, given their name. And in our case, it is our karma or our destiny, given, actually, that's a whole other subject, could be also related to our name. And of course, like, other, let's say, when astrologers interpret like your birth year and your time of birth and the date and all that, that is related to that.
Right.
So there's these energetic signatures that go in to interpret.
All around your birth.
Okay.
And or
birth
conception
determines the baseline. So embodied life is determined by the baseline, and then thus your reality is set by all kinds of factors, right? And then it goes on. This is because your nervous system references your world through your 5 senses. But then later, as you come into this body and you come into this form, your interface, like same thing as like you would say computer interface, that you then interact with the world is through your 5 senses. And so that reinforces your karmic cycle, your karmic life of what is it that you need to interpret based on your embodied purpose. Does that make sense? We can dive into this more, and then I can be referencing them. Your nervous system is, quote, tuned in to the specific vibratory levels of your embodied existence. So you come in with your purpose or your karma or your destiny or whatever, and then your nervous system knows that is your purpose. That is quite literally when you came as an emanation of light and consciousness and wholeness, and you have one ray that spews you down into 3-dimensional understanding, you came here to embody that expression. And in our case, it's very much an emotional embodiment. Like, we came here not to experience life in physicality, but life through emotions.
And so if you go against that.
You can't go against that. That's the reason I want to discuss this is because we misunderstand manifestation, laws of attraction. We misunderstand our destiny, our purpose, or in fact, we misunderstand what it means to have pain and suffering and trauma because we separate everything out of this baseline of understanding. We don't. So here's what I'm trying to say based on this and based on like me knowing this and based on Nectarian conversations. The only way you can express yourself is to fulfill your embodied purpose. Like they just say, I will remove word embodied, and if that's confusing. The purpose of your life is to express yourself in a very specific form in this emanation of consciousness.
Right.
And that is how our physical space is designed. The fact that you exist and interpret yourself in this body, and I can tap and I can pat and whatever, and I can do this and my nervous system does something, and I can shake and my nervous system does something. The fact that we express ourselves in that form is not anything at all other than that is the whole baseline of how our reality works. And so nothing can be interpreted on Earth because Earth is interpreted like that.
Okay. Well, there's two things going on here. It sounds like you're saying that like almost it's like your destiny.
Sure. Yes. You cannot.
Is everybody
your soul self comes here and here's your mission. Like you have this little piece of paper, let's say, and you have signed the contract, and the contract is you come here and this is my facilitated mission.
So I was going to say, is everybody living their mission now, or is maybe they are because part of their mission is wherever they happen to be right now?
Everyone's living their mission because by default, you came here and your preset as a human being, like everything that is your preset, is to live that mission.
Right. I mean, like, in as much as like my life feels a lot more aligned with a mission or higher purpose right now than it did 5, 10, 15 years ago.
This is not a mission you might start to perceive and see the mission. Oh yeah, but alignment in your case, how does it feel? It feels like, oh, my body is relaxed.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel jittery and I don't feel confused and I don't feel like I'm having these emotional swings. I feel centered.
Yeah. Does that mean that I wasn't living according to my destiny before? Or does that mean that part of my destiny is I had to experience that in order to get to here?
Not the past nor the current situation is the goal at all. The goal is to freestyle. It's a freestyle rap expression of your destiny. And there's not a preset of like, oh, I was doing it back then. I wasn't doing it back then. I'm doing it now. It is a freestyle. Free will, freestyle. So you're just like, whatever, improving your way through this expression. So and the expression is not preset.
There's no doing it right. There's no doing it wrong.
No. Yeah, there's no. Yeah. What I'm saying is the way our reality works. Like what I want to say is like if it is not a mechanism, but like on the physicality, if you wanted to interpret that as mechanism, it is actually, it could be interpreted as a mechanism. That is the makeup of how it works. Like, like there's the how it works 101 videos. This is how it works 101 videos. And so what I want to maybe like have it come across is there are no other ways to interpret anything that you do other than expression of that emanation. And then there's no way to do anything at all with it as far as like, I don't know, like, I don't know if anybody would want to change it or alter it or whatever, because that is quite literally the makeup of your physical form coming to Earth in 3-dimensionality.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So I think because we don't understand that, we spent their entire life not feeling aligned with ourselves, and we didn't basically think we are depressed, and we think we are suffering, and we think that we are in pain, and we think that we need to go through hell, and there is such thing as hell, and we need to pay penance because there is such thing as penance. Like, we put ourselves through this complete set of bullshits and suffering because we don't understand that our job here is to express the wholeness of our being. Period.
So then how does it what's up with, like, I assume your life too, now feeling so much more aligned than it did 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. So purpose is defined for you. Like, your purpose and my purpose and Aiden's purpose and Annabelle's purpose are different purposes, right? And so, there's no time and space, but in your lifetime, when you, but there you go, like in your lifetime as a Knights Templar, right? If you were to tune into that lifetime, right? What did you perceive your purpose or mission to be?
Like the higher purpose?
Like
what's my life takeaway in the end, or what was I?
So can you answer both? Like, can you answer, like, when you were living and when you were alive, what did you think your purpose was?
I think originally I thought it was to, further the Knights Templar thing. I was, a true believer.
But what did it mean to further Knights Templar? Like, right, they have a, like that, and that's an easy one to pick because they operate under large purpose. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, there's this idea of, protecting. I mean, possibly people, but also, protecting. I don't know if secrets is the right word, but protecting a path through history.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then when you died,
when I died, like, I experienced this, like, lost love, but at the same time, like, there was this, like, I was caught in between two worlds where, I was in the Templars with the Templars, but at the same time, I was in this forbidden love situation. And, I couldn't reconcile it. So it was, I don't know, there was a bit of like cowardice in there that I'm not sure what I should have done, but I probably knew what I should have done and I didn't do it. Yeah.
what should have you done?
I think I should have left the Knights Templar.
Okay. So interesting.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's some parallels.
Well, it's interesting because one of the chapters in the book is basically the same story of an Arcturian struggling, right? Because they're born for their mission of expression, and their expression is very, so like their motto is to protect life, freedom, and intelligence. And that, because that is within their mission, then they do not pay attention to the other portion of themselves that they have kind of automated away from, which is the matters of the heart. And so the Arcturian agenda right now is to understand the humanity through that lens, like to understand how does humanity have heart in awareness and not jeopardize and marry the balance the heart and the mission, right? Which is the same thing that you basically just said. So yeah, so this is not like a judgment, but let me know if I'm right. we come in, especially on Earth in 3-dimensional space, with like a challenge, right? Like, what does it mean to live as the whole balanced being, right? And accept all portions of self, and to learn balance between all portions of ourselves, including our aspirations that are sometimes through our shadow, and including the matters of the heart that kind of have their own tone. Do you know what I mean? They're like, usually, I mean, yes, there are matters of the heart that could be seen through the shadow, but for the most part, if it's a true vibratory nature of the heart, then you can choose to recognize it as its own tone, its own separate tone of vibration. And so the purpose of every being, even in the Knights Templar time, is to reach wholeness of your entire self.
Right. No, I mean, I believe that.
Right. And so if you're a Knights Templar time,
Young 101.
what? Right. And the wholeness of your entire self is acceptance and seeing self both in your shadow and in your pain and in your trauma and the emanation of that pain and trauma and how it comes into your everyday actions of like, oh, well, the way I take out garbage or the way I clean the house or the way I polish my sword, have the intensity of possibility of that trauma come through into those actions, right? The way I dress reflects my shadow, right? The way, or trauma, a shadow trauma is that I'm using those words interchangeably, right? And so back then, you can see your mission probably has aspects of shadow or trauma in them. And the reason why you want to protect the mission or the reason why you want to apply yourself to your mission have something within them that in the human sense of interpretation come out of trauma. Karmic cycles that you need to process and exercise, right? And then when you die and you do a past life overview, you see the entirety of you that you either accepted or denied and the unintegrated portions that you left that life with as like, oh, look, I could have done this. Like, this is how integration would have looked like. Because at the end, your entire life is a snapshot and you see it in its entirety and you see the unintegrated pieces.
Yeah. Like, as life goes on, it's just a series of jigsaw pieces. But when you see it from a higher level, that you see how they all fit together, and you're like, oh,
it's one snapshot.
It becomes clear.
It's like one whole piece, and then you see where you fail to integrate. I say fail. There's no such thing as fail, but right.
It had opportunities to integrate.
Yes. I mean, and yes. And you had opportunities to integrate, and you said, look, this portion, I was struggling so much that I couldn't bring this into integration, into the wholeness that would have allowed me to feel fully centered. Because think about it, like why you feel good right now and you did not feel so great 10 years ago is because you're bringing more and more of the denied pieces of yourself into acceptance, right? Kabbalion style, if you want to say, you're seeing the pendulum swing and you're overlooking the swing.
Yeah.
And then the swing doesn't swing anymore. It's just an expression of observation in the swing. You still feel the emotional range, but from this removed love-like standpoint to everything, both the good and the bad.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so you're centered in the observation state of acceptance of your entire being.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be careful and make it clear that it's not some sort of like detached robotic emotionless state. You still feel it all.
Yeah.
But it's like, even if what you feel is an emotion you don't want to feel, it's still okay. You still accept it and even welcome it.
No, I welcome it because to me, I realize like it's interesting because it has switched to not even acceptance, but like I look forward to it because I recognize that is the utmost expression of humanity I could possibly experience. And in fact, we feel it so viscerally that as a Nocturian, the only way they feel that much emotional influx is if they enter into matters of heart. But then because their mission is so important and the mission is the emanation of them, then they have hard time
doing that or staying there?
Accepting themselves in that emanation, because that emanation in their eyes or their progression of their species is perceived as giving up of their mission, and they are struggling to integrate continuation of emanation of their destiny and their mission and their purpose with integration of heart, which is very interesting to me, because like that is quite literally like their species struggle.
I mean, that's if anything, that was almost my goal back in the day, from teenager on, because I had gotten to the point where I just didn't want to feel anymore.
Wait, your goal was what?
I didn't want to feel anymore. So almost like how much can I turn off
Emotions?
Wow. And dive into whatever it happens to be. Whether that's school, whether that's work, whether that's a project, whether that's making a speaker box for the car, whatever it is. Just 100% in. It isn't necessarily material stuff, but it's all in the mind, out of the heart and into the mind. And so I can relate to that, having done it to varying degrees of success. The thing is you still never really stop feeling.
Well, you basically like shut off more than 50% of you.
Yeah.
Or if it's all emotions, that you shut off like 100% of you.
Yeah, no, that was my maybe even explicit goal to myself.
Because you couldn't handle emotional range?
Yeah, I mean, I was depressed. I was very depressed. And so my way that I had the only way I could see out of depression was to just stop feeling entirely as much as I can. I can't even describe how I would go about doing that other than just sort of
numb yourself up.
Numb myself, right? And eventually,
But like, your tendencies to addiction is that.
Yeah.
When you're numbing yourself out, then you're seeking a high every so often.
Yeah.
And that if you keep on numbing and numbing and numbing, you as a human being, you cannot not feel. And so your addiction then provided you quick entrances into the high.
And eventually, alcohol gets in there and stuff. But, even
I'm talking about all addiction.
No, I understand. But like, I mean, in as much as, keeping myself occupied was an addiction too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just, well, that's addiction into not feeling.
Yeah.
And then therefore you control what you feel, and you feel is so, what's the word? Not irrelevant, but so, like unimportant that it's okay to feel because it is unimportant. Do you know what I mean? Like if you dive into a video game and you have emotions about losing and whatever.
Oh, is this trivial?
Trivial, yeah. So trivial because then therefore when you lose.
Okay, so that was no, I can see that. That would be
then you'd be like, oh look, I feel angry because this dude shot me.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Do you see what I mean? And so you dive into these storylines,
trivialize things to have emotions over, so that I don't have to have emotions about actual things.
Yeah, but that's all humans. Like why all humans struggle isn't because instead of identifying how we actually feel, we choose the world, the fakeness of the world to draw emotions from, because they're actually fake and removed for the most part. And then we feel like they're actually not touching at the center where it actually hurts.
Right. We can keep it at arm's distance.
Arm's distance, but then we really dive into it. Like we really care about, I don't know what the fuck people care about that is actually relevant.
The economy or the war or what the neighbors are doing.
Yeah, whatever, right? You pick out these things that don't matter and you decide to distract yourself with this trivial diversion and pretend like you have all these sets of emotions. Now, it doesn't feel like you're pretending, But that's what you're doing. You're pretending like you care about all of these things in order to distract yourself from how you actually feel,
Right.
where integration happens.
And like, you however you feel about, the war or the economy or the neighbor's new car, it is
Emanation.
right. What I'm going to say is it's its own thing, but B, it's really very much a projection of something going on inside of you.
Yeah.
But but you can pretend it's its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Sally got a new whatever, and I like it or I hate it or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. But what you're not seeing is, oh, Sally has a new car and I'm jealous of it because now I feel like my car is junky, and that makes me seem like a person who doesn't have money or class or style or whatever it is, and less than, and then that makes me feel like I'm the person who is less than, and now that's really scary, and now I feel unsafe.
Yeah.
So all that's hidden.
Yeah.
Now it's all about Sally and her new car.
Yeah. Now, there's levels of distraction, right?
Yeah.
But this is where I want to go back into, right? So I came here to experience unsafety in the most visceral, real way, like all the way, like, and so this is what I want to point out. So like, to go back to that paragraph, right? My emanation is to come here and experience unsafety. And that is, let's say, my destiny, my mission, my purpose, right? Like it's not the nicest, like in the long run, you would go like, oh, well, why, Aiden, we were talking about this to Aiden. He's like, well, why not come here and experience happiness, right? And it's interesting because I found it so naive that was his word. Like, well, wait, why do you think I came here to experience abandonment? Why didn't I just choose to come here and experience happiness? And that I loved it because he thought that there's something wrong with experiencing abandonment. He placed all this negativity on it. And then therefore, why not choose something positive? And to him, there's a scale of like, abandonment is bad and happiness is this whole other thing that you could choose that is good.
Like,
as opposed to
it's almost like, why can't I just, I just want to experience the fun, like at the theme park, like the roller coaster. And it's like, yeah, but the roller coaster literally has ups and downs.
Well, no. You have to, your happiness is to experience your emanation of abandonment, or in my case, unsafety. The happiness is there, right? For me to be happy is to experience the wholeness of my emanation that came here to experience every nuance that is applicable to me of unsafety. And happiness is there. It is within that destiny or expression or eminence or emanation or purpose or whatever you want to call it, or karma, whatever you want to call it, all interchangeable.
It sounds like you're saying you're happiest when you're unsafe.
No. The happiness in human, the true happiness in human is reached in that laid back state where you are allowing yourself to feel whole and complete. And then by default, you're completely centered. And you're happy because you feel like all portions of you are integrated and accepted and are met and welcomed.
Almost like if you were just born completely integrated.
That's your natural state.
Right, but we get the happiness from doing and ideally succeeding in the integration, and then it's almost, you can see you started here and now you're here, and so that differential is happiness. In as much as what is happiness without sadness? Okay. What is pleasure without pain?
So what,
like that?
Well, no, not like that. See, that's the thing, is that is so misunderstood that is where we are lost as humanity. Like, and I think the religious dogma, basically, and all the sorry to say, fucked up spiritual teachings have actually done disservice and bred in the wrong message and corrupted itself within itself. Like it's a it's a software you install to fix something, and within itself, it actually has a corruption, right? So here's maybe this is a better way to say it. We come in as a newborn child in the fifth dimensional interpretation of reality. And actually, no, I'm sorry. I would clarify. If fifth dimensional interpretation of reality is where Arcturians are, we actually come in at the higher emanation of it, where we're one with the consciousness of light. And as a young child, right, think about this. You do not have dualistic splits by any means, because before your three-dimensional interpretation of humanity, everything is love and light. Can you go back to that state?
Yes, there's not a lot of it though, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I think more kids are getting more of it these days.
Well, I mean, like Annabelle, right, came in and she holds the frequency of that, the larger percentage than she accepts humanity. Do you see what I mean? Like, you and I came in and we lost our perception of our higher connection all the way in order to fully dive into human experience. Yeah, quicker and all the way in order to dive into a very extreme human experience of complete separation from the perception of wholeness, and then therefore have this very visceral experience. Versus Annabelle came in, and her entire purpose in life is to hold the emanation of wholeness within her and then experience her humanity from, if I had to divide the scale between 100%, she's probably at depending on the fluctuation, anywhere between 60-40 to 80-20 split, right? So on some days, but no, whenever I drag her into a cacao ceremony and I sit her there and she accepts that portion of herself, she can basically go into a 90-10 on the a 10-90. Like she's in the 10% human expression and she's in 90% her emanation expression. Right. And so so she's able to transverse that based on choice. Like, her choice into what character I want to play right now is very malleable. Mm-hmm. And like you and I came and we spent until age of 40, not even, 40, but 30, I think 35 for us, at least for me, of not even realizing that. And she realizes that. She cognitively knows that she transverses the scale and she chooses to keep this emanation open.
What's funny is that at any point along the way, I had a feeling that there was something greater. I always had that feeling.
Yeah. Well, no, you have the baseline no matter what, but how much of that emanation you choose to project is a choice.
Yeah.
And so this is interesting, right? That emanation of oneness and wholeness, where you're not split between good and bad, and you actually are the whole projection of self, is what people perceive as the highs, right? And then they feel so integrated because they're not bad and they're not good. And there's not war, and then there's not peace, and then there's not acceptance, and there's not denial. There's just isness. And they spend the rest of their life chasing it, but because that is the centered completeness of their being without the splits. Do you see what I mean? And like Annabelle, right? Whatever her generation is, has that within her period, and then she chooses to play out the Shakespearean dramas within the awareness of the Shakespearean dramas. I'm now aware that I choose Shakespearean dramas, and then I'm now aware that I don't have to play a Shakespearean drama.
Right. That's the progression.
She's at all times is aware that she's experiencing Shakespearean dramas. So that's interesting. So she will never lose that wholeness that she can vibrate out, and she will cognitively be aware of the little dramas that she plays out.
Yeah.
Which is great. Wait, so did I get distracted or not? Yes. I don't think I got distracted. Okay, so as a child, you come in with that wholeness, right? Like there's no dualistic split, right? And depending on when you're interpreting your timeline, right, again, there's no time and space. So whether you're interpreting a timeline as a Knights Templar, whether you're interpreting timeline in 1.0 version of Earth on 2025, like where we're sitting right now, or futuristic version of Earth, your split, your destiny into emanation will come in, and you will, by the choices of the drama or trauma you came here to play out, because they're interchangeable. Drama and trauma is the same thing. Shakespearean drama is your trauma, right? And you will split yourself up and basically deny wholeness. You will pretend deny wholeness and will fracture yourself into all these pieces, where you will deny the fact that you're unlovable, right? Like you will design, like, oh, I'm unlovable. And you will like, oh, I will deny all portions of myself where I feel unlovable. And then therefore start to play out all these dramas and traumas and Shakespearean plays from that one emanation.
Right. And in denying it, you're actually like exploring it, but seeking to prove it to yourself that you are.
Yes, but that is your exploration. For you, so this is interesting. So for you to come here and have that purpose, like my purpose is on safety and for your purpose is unlovable, right? That's the purpose. Like that is my word on safety, right? And then because I deny it, right? That's the baseline. I will come here and I will deny it. Then everything that I engage in the world is through that denial, which is the density that holds that baseline as my truth, then causes me, quite literally causes me, through how three-dimensional mechanism works, to fulfill my destiny, to explore my emanation in here, or my karma, or my shadow, or my pain, or trauma, as the person who's unsafe.
Right. It's like cosmically, it's like you can either accept it and explore it, or you can reject it and explore it.
Yes, but except when you pretend like you put it away and that's not your truth, and then you're exploring everything through it, you don't even realize you're doing that.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, I can see how it all is.
Yeah.
But
that takes a while for you to see that.
Yeah, and those are the rougher lessons.
But they're visceral.
They're visceral.
They're visceral is because you are coming from the most, it's not the most interpreted amount of density, but you are interpreting your three-dimensional human form, interprets it at the most visceral form because you're in denial, therefore you're locked. And the Shakespearean dramas or emanations, or your suffering, or your trauma, or your whatever, is so visceral because it comes out of that lock. And so it is the most, right? Like think about, this is going back to my previous example that, I don't think Anthony would mind, but I use him as a scapegoat now for this definition. But Anthony Bourdain was an emanation of suffering, and then being lost in the suffering so much that he didn't even see the loss in the suffering, right? Like when you're down there in the pits and you're drowning, it is the most exhilarating feeling that a human can feel.
Yeah, I know.
And you interpret it as pain, but you came here to experience the exhilaration of that much emotional depth.
Yeah, no, it's so.
This is not to send people down to chase that.
No,
but I want to reframe the understanding that is the mechanism of the design of three-dimensional reality. You came here to facilitate.
No, I mean, that depression is so weirdly insidious that when I was very, very depressed, I got pleasure out of it in some sick, twisted way. I wanted to be depressed. I was depressed and I wanted to be depressed, and I didn't want to not be depressed.
Yeah, but choice. So, well, but with you have addiction tendencies. And so you were addicted to the feeling of depression because at some point you became accustomed to knowing that is the only way you want to live. That is the only way I know how to live. Do you see what I mean?
All right, well, maybe
could that be it or not? I'm saying or maybe, or actually, what I'm saying is maybe this is actually the case, and that's more insidious, is you're addicted to the high of the depression because it's a huge high.
Yeah. I mean, it's
like
it's
you
a
are
low and high. It is weird. And
well, no, the high of the low.
Yeah.
But the low has the biggest high because it holds the most density. Right? Like at some point, in my convoluted meditative state, I was sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much pleasure in playing the victim.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Because who's a better victim than someone who's depressed? It feels like it's this black hole that if you're not, if I'm not, wasn't careful, you can just fall into, and being in it reinforces being in it.
Yeah, but there's pleasure.
No, there is. There's absolutely
pleasure.
There absolutely is.
But
which sounds bizarre.
Yeah, but I
know it's true.
I don't want. So here's what I want to say is, I don't want everybody to say this and then feel that within themselves, and then reject that because it's somehow bad. I want everybody to reframe that in understanding that is the depth of a human experience that we came here to understand and facilitate. And there's a beautiful amount of ownership and sovereignty. You can realize that is a choice you make because that is the depth of a human expression that you secretly enjoy. But not because you're a bad human being or because that is perverted or that is shameful or that is like, I don't know, whatever other bad words that humans have chosen to deny our sovereignty and deny the wholeness. But that is, we came here to experience the depth of a human emotional expression. And that is where the depth is. So at some point you realize, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful thing you can do, is to see yourself and accept yourself enjoying playing victim, enjoying playing depressed, enjoying playing, oh my gosh, I am so drowning right now that I don't even see myself as a human. Like I see myself as this nebulous blob that is unsavable and unreachable and there's no way out of it. When you feel like there's no way out of it, you have reached the depth of the most deepest human potential you can reach in densifying yourself into a three-dimensional interpretation of reality. That is not to have everyone right now go and chase that. But if you see that and you see the beauty of that.
I mean, everybody has had the densest moment of their life.
Well, yeah. But you came here to facilitate all of those nuances. What are they? The
stalactites?
No. It starts with an M, like the recently when I have been referring to how consciousness works, and it's the endless zoom.
Mandelbrot?
Yeah, Mandelbrot. Okay, yeah, Mandelbrot. It's the Mandelbrot, right? It's the the density, the highest density of your human potential, and the lowest of the low is you zooming in on the Mandelbrot set, right? The truth is, it can go lower and lower and lower. I mean, I don't want to like incentivize anyone because it's endless. The pits are endless, and when you feel the most depth is when people usually take their life. Like, I'm not trying to paint. So it's never the way out, because the second you take your life, you're regretting on the other side. So I don't want people upset people over that either. But that is the depth. That is the deepest point of self. If you were to be lost to the density, that is, you feel like there's no way out.
Yeah.
And like, those moments, think about it. You remember those moments, and they're the most visceral moments. But at the same time, if you remember your happiest moments, it is the most visceral moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're the same energetic signatures. There's no difference between energetic signature of depth of expression of the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
And then there's no difference between energetic exception of the highest of the high.
Right.
Because they're
it's intensity that you remember.
intense. Yeah, right. They're
Yeah.
intense.
Right.
And that is your human expression. And so the, to I don't know, to go back, your embodied life, let's say your purpose, right? Including your shadow, including the pain, including the lowest of the lowest, is the three-dimensional space that is your baseline of your reality, right? You come here to express the baseline of your human psyche in those depths. And that is just you expressing your density in its highest form. But you came here to do it, right? And so, and then, if you wanted to dive in, biologically, a nervous system is what facilitates that experience, right?
Right. It's
Right.
just
So
it's just
how we
tuned to
feel
that.
the low of the low is, guess what? That's the nervous system. How we feel the high of the high, that's a nervous system, right? How right now, when you feel more centered, right? Guess what? It is because you have trained your nervous system to understand the moving through the Mandelbrot set of the lowest and the highs, and you have risen your nervous system interpretation of your reality to a high baseline level. So when you feel more centered, it is not that you're not feeling the lowest and the lowest, but you're observing them within your nervous system, your mechanism of biological interpretation through this arising level, but you're still Mandelbrotting, setting your way down into experience with awareness.
Yeah, right.
That's how mechanism works.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right? So the nervous system is there to facilitate the baseline that we come here to experience, because our senses, both, and I don't, they say 5-dimensional, but it's more than 5-dimensional. It's that visceral expression, that vibratory energetic fluctuation. That is what you experience. And you can say, oh, like I'm hot, I'm cold, or my ears are ringing, or my eyes are getting blurry, or I'm getting ready to pass out. But it's an electrical charge, electromagnetic charge, that is actually the nervous system, right? And so our emanation of expression in physicality is an electromagnetic charge, and our nervous system, defined by our science, right? Like we retroactively defined it, right? That's when they reference the first paragraph saying that like your knowledge should not limit. But if you were to apply our knowledge, our nervous system facilitates the experience of the depth. And when you're more centered, Kabbalion style, is because you have ascended your nervous system to vibrate on a different level of frequency, that is different level of electromagnetic range, that you interpret the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
You're not drowning, but you're feeling the same range,
right,
without like the drowning.
Right. It's interesting. It is. I mean, saying it's observed is a good way to do it, but you are still feeling it.
Yeah,
but you're not lost to it.
Yeah, but you're still Mandelbrotting your way down into the sets, except that now your nervous system is functioning at a higher range.
Right. Instead of, you're still going up and down, but but there's like another you up above, watching yourself going down and realizing this is all, it's a game. It's all a game.
You see the Shakespearean drama.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're like, oh, I'm choosing to go down and really get upset about Sally's new car because that sounds fun right now.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna poke me and make me feel like I don't have enough money, and it's gonna make me feel worthless, and it's gonna make me feel unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fun. Let's do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, the same thing, but without realizing that that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so you can still do it. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah, no, that is acceptance and living the three-dimensional space of your emanation.
Or you can go, yeah, you know what, that doesn't sound fun right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I know in the past it would have been, maybe tomorrow will be, but I just don't even want to right
Well,
now.
I just don't want to play that game.
Right. And
Yeah. And so with us,
but all without a judgment on it. It's not like that game is bad, I don't want to play the game.
No,
It's just like
it's
that's just not for me right now.
it doesn't sound fun.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like both to good things and bad things. But sooner or later, you realize there's no such thing as good and bad,
Right.
because the more you ascend your electromagnetic field or your frequency band higher and higher and higher, everything is just emanation of self. And that's like, if you had to interpret integration, a wholeness, or you're experiencing self as your purpose, that is what it is.
Right. It's like
there's no judgment because there's no splits.
Yeah. It's not even like I don't like peas. It's more like I like strawberries, but there are times when I'm like, I just don't want a strawberry right now.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing inherently good, bad, right, wrong about strawberries or about having feelings about Sally's car.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you, is that your jive right now?
Yeah. But But I wanted to clarify, that is how the universe works. That is how our constructed three-dimensional space functions. And that is how we can understand our mission, if you were to go back to Arcturian interpretation of reality, or our Earth mission is to express self in its wholeness by understanding and integrating all nuances thereof as emanation of our purpose on the multidimensional level, right? Rising up, and like, Jesus, in his book, he says that Jesus was an Arcturian. I will not validate or unvalidate that, because I'm still trying to discern that for myself. But Jesus's teaching of know thyself was that is you ascend up in your interpretation of your electromagnetic field to where you know your whole self, but without dualistic split, without judgment.
Yeah.
In full acceptance and integration of your wholeness that is not split psyche.
Right. It's that example of, seeing yourself dive down into that issue, but A, for every issues, and B, maybe even a level above that, seeing yourself, see yourself. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And then you get to where that has happened in my life, and it hasn't happened everywhere and it hasn't happened all the time, but where that has happened, it's so freeing, because it's like, oh my gosh, this thing was so important. It was so serious. It mattered so much. I really cared about the car or whatever it is. And it just, you go, oh yeah, it's not really important. It can be if I want it to be, but it doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And these things, these topics, these people, these objects, they lose their power over you, which you have, of course, just given to them.
But that's the idea of, like, when the higher teaching speaks of attachment, it's that.
Yeah.
It is actually not to that's another, I think, disservice to humanity, is like when the Buddhism and Hinduism speaks of attachment and detachment, they mean this and not what everybody else interprets themselves. Like denial of pleasure or denial of materialism or denial of consumption is not
right.
Attachment or detachment.
The word is unattached, not detached. And, you can choose to live an ascetic life where you have no material possessions, and, that's fine.
But not because that is the right thing to do, or because that is somehow righteous.
That's fine, but that's not right, wrong, good, bad either. That's just...
Yeah, but but most of the people on Earth interpret minimalism or an attachment or abstinence as like the goal, the path to, or the goal to
a righteous path.
Well, yeah, like as oh no, this is something it has to do,
right?
As opposed to having it be a result of you,
right?
It is a result of your emanation based on your interpretation of reality in this space and time.
Yeah. The
full acceptance of self is you functioning in freedom without dualistic splits of judgment.
And you can do that no matter how many zeros are on your bank account. They're completely orthogonal topics.
Yeah. But everybody takes that teaching and they become lost because they perceive it from that standpoint.
I can see how if you're really stuck in it, then living for some period of time without may give some perspective as a tool, in as much as, living in a cave is a way to, to find yourself, but it's not necessary. It is not the only way. That is a way, but it is not necessary. You don't have to do it. In fact, like realizing you don't have to do it is important.
Yeah.
Because there's no prescribed right way to do this, other than if you're doing stuff that helps you explore yourself, helps you explore your shadow, the disowned parts of you, that helps you reintegrate that, then you're on the right path, whatever that may be. And it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not require giving up possessions or people, and it doesn't require, becoming the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It doesn't, it's just like it doesn't require your favorite color to be blue or red or pink or purple. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's right. But it's interesting that we take these teachings, like the true teachings of these emanations of what we then perceive as prophets, have these brushstroke statements that come out of higher frequency reality.
Yeah.
And then we take those statements and we take that teaching and then we try to interpret it from the three-dimensional density, and it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so we actually disservice ourselves to the teaching and make it go against us for as long as we need to, until we realize that it's not necessary.
Right. And we see these examples of, the monks living an ascetic life. And it's like, well, obviously they're holy. They're monks. Or, Jesus saying that, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into heaven. And we're like, oh, well, got to give up all my money. Right. Therefore, but it's the real teaching in there is that it isn't not having money or not having possessions. It's the attachment to the money or the possessions that is the anchor holding you down. Well,
it's the have to be.
It isn't having $1 million. It's I have to have $1 million.
Yeah, it's the density of have to.
Yeah.
As opposed to camel has no attachment to have to.
Yeah.
Right? He could not care less.
There's I don't remember. I think it was a video of this I think it was it's some parody video of like a one of those mega church pastor owner dudes who's like super duper rich, right? And so he has both genetically bred the world's smallest camel and then manufactured the world's largest needle so that he can get the camel through the eye of the needle so that he can get into heaven. And he spent, $50 million doing this or something.
That's funny.
Right, but
to prove Jesus wrong.
To go, ta-da, now I can get into heaven. Right, it's that if you have a feeling of I have to, I need to.
Yeah.
That's a good clue that you don't have to, and maybe
No,
it
that
isn't.
is
It
enough.
isn't. It
That
isn't.
is
Maybe you shouldn't, but it's you don't need to have to.
no. The have to feeling, each have to feeling is basically designed there by your higher self, by your emanation, by your purpose in life to explore the reasons why you have to.
Right. Because that's
So then
one
you
of those red flags that go, hey, what's actually going on
Yes.
in here?
So all the have tos are there as basically kind of like, hey, this is the thing we need to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
By we, I mean like you and your truth that you're denying.
You yourself and your higher self.
Yeah, you yourself and you. You know what I mean? Our emanation comes. It is in pure source, pure light. Then through our childhood years, it splits itself up and fractures out into good and bad. And you basically go on and denying all the versions of yourself that now you have deemed as bad. That sets in your shadow / unintegrated version of you. And then your entire life then emanates out of that set. That is your set. That's how all humans work. And then from that set, you basically Mandelbrot yourself into all kinds of expression, but all out of this lock of an acceptance of this one karmic shadow that you, or unacceptance, or unlovable, or unsafe, or what's Aiden's abandoned, or whatever, right? Like there's this word that has a frequency that you have taken on, and everything emanates out of that. And your experience and your reality, I want to say, is so beautiful and so microscopically designed, custom tailored for you, because you're literally designing this Mandelbrot set out of that one word.
Yeah.
And your name, right? Your name and your word. And there's this nebulous fluctuations of electromagnetic field that projects itself out of that lock. And all the have-tos and all the problems and all the good things and all the bad things emanate out of this one spot. Right? That like Aiden deemed like bad. He's like, why can't it just be happiness? Well, the happiness is still there, is in that one spot.
What's interesting is that sometimes those have tos become so routine that you don't realize that they're have tos.
Yeah, you're blind. Well, that's the low. That's the expression of the Mandelbrot.
So I had a have to of like, because I get the email about the mail that's coming later that day.
Yeah, I love it.
And it was just a routine to check that. And,
so our post office, I don't know if this happens everywhere in the United States, but the post office takes pictures.
They scan the mail.
The
envelope.
And then in the morning, you get an email.
It's called the USPS Informed Delivery.
You get an email of all the mail that is coming that day whenever your mail happens to come.
Yeah. So it's 7:30 in the morning. I get an email saying what's going to arrive at anyway from 11 to 2, depending on the day.
Yeah. And
then I get another one saying your mail has been delivered. So I know.
I didn't even know.
That's new. That's new. That's in the last couple months.
So, but think about.
But now I know I can go get the mail. And in my mind, mail is divided up into 3 categories. There's good mail, which is checks. There's bad mail, which is, I guess, bills. And then there's everything else, which goes straight into the garbage, junk mail.
Well, they're super bad.
And then there's super bad
there's
mail.
There's 4 categories.
Which, if it's coming from a lawyer, that's probably really bad.
Yeah, but through your lens of unsafety, right? Because unsafety is still your trigger.
Yeah.
That is where that's coming from.
No, you're right. But I had become so blind to it because I have been getting these emails and looking at it once a day for years.
But you started it before the path to understanding.
True. So
to begin with, you started it for that reason, right? And then you propagate it and continue it, never actually stepping back and go, wait, what am I getting out of this?
Right. And like I would justify it as like, well, sometimes there's, someone says they mailed a check and then, I see it is coming and then it doesn't arrive. But then what does that change other than it arrives a couple of days later because I still don't know what happens to those things, but it fell between the driver's seat. I don't know. So right, it's the funny thing is, if you were to ask, all right, given this email, what action are you going to take that is different otherwise? I don't have an answer to that. So it is kind of pointless, other than, oh, now I feel a little bit safer because I know what's coming.
Oh, because the truth is you're afraid of what's coming.
Right. So if it's good news, if it's good, okay, I can relax. If it's bad, okay, it gives me a couple more hours to worry before an envelope arrives that I don't know what it contains. So logically, it makes no sense, but emotionally, it fed that. And I guess that was my point, is that these things become, some of these sometimes it's like, oh, I have to, and you can feel it. And sometimes you become so numb to that through repetition, through whatever, that you don't even realize that getting an email about the mail to come is a have to.
Yeah, but going back to this process.
Right. But the important part is once you feel a have to, or recognize something that is a have to, exploring that. Why do you have to? What is it hitting deep down that needs a bit of love?
Which is
unsafety.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably always, spoiler alert, it's probably always unsafety. But if you can trace it down
and feel it, right? And feel it.
Yeah.
So, but in relation to this view of structure, right? What's actually happening is step one is I feel unsafe. That is step one.
Yeah.
And that is the density that is vibrating within you.
And step two is, and that's okay.
Well, no. But in this case, that's the truth. And then your emanation of this vibration, it's not like, oh, the mail comes and therefore that's the trigger. And then therefore whatever. No. The reality is designed as such.
It's poking something that's already there.
No, that it's not even poking that it's already there. Already there is the baseline. That's your structure. Like the world cannot deliver you anything that you are not vibrating, right? So when they say like, oh, you manifest your subconscious beliefs or whatever, people need to rethink that. There's a disservice when people say that and don't clarify it or define. The truth is, when you come in and your karmic cycle or your goal or your destiny or your mission or your pain or your trauma, whatever you want to call that, is the preset that you have come here to experience. Nothing else can come into your universal possibility other than this experience. So when you're vibrating on safety, then it's basically kind of like
a beacon.
A beacon of like, blah, 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 please deliver me all the emanations of unsafety. Like, please, unsafety, please come into my life. Now, whether or not you will see it as such or not is irrelevant, but that's what you're vibrating. You are not anything but that.
Yeah.
You are not asking or even able, the universe cannot even bring anything else in because quite literally you're saying, here's the filter through which I want to see the world.
Yeah.
And that is what manifestation is. It's not the reverse. Like, oh, if I sit there and I say abundance enough, abundance will come my way. No, you're literally sitting there going, I'm poor. Abundance is not even a thing that can possibly come in because you're quite literally just asking the universe to prove to you that you're poor.
You're right. In fact, the problem that I see is that the type of individual who's like, oh, that's the trick. Abundance is the type of person who is very strongly vibrating in
poor.
lack.
Yeah, I'm poor.
And so
but
they probably will not find success with a
yes, but
that.
But what I want to say is if you're over there trying to vibrate abundance, right, based on our previous conversation, that actually means that you believe in such thing as lack, and what you're actually asking for the world is lack. If I'm asking for abundance, that means I believe there's such thing as not abundance, and that's the density. The density is always what we would then classify on Earth as negative. If abundance is good, the density isn't bad. And if you believe in abundance, that means you believe in the opposite thereof, which is lack. And lack has a higher density, higher charge, higher electromagnetic charge that Earth is designed to facilitate. So we'll always facilitate the more denser version of what you're vibrating. And if you're vibrating on safety, because there's such thing as on safety, that is what Earth is designed to deliver.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So through that mechanism, you can start to understand what manifestation actually is. As long as you're vibrating in the idea of abundance, then therefore you believe in lack. And if you believe in lack because it has higher weight, like if it's a scale, right? And in Egypt, right? Like the metaphor of the mud weighing your heart against the feather, where you're like, well, fuck, heart has density and the feather doesn't. Obviously, it's always blah. Well, the heart communicates the truth, and the truth is the most densest version of your gnosis, of your reality. And so, yeah, as long as you're split in the duality, people are like, well, fuck, how can you ever win and go to heaven if you're weighing hard against the feather? Right? That doesn't make sense. Well, duh, as long as you're split on the scale of being weighted, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And if, like me, you hear, oh, you know, don't, you know, even if you, I want abundance, and realize that that's still basically vibrating out lack, and go and get kind of freaked out and go, oh shit, you know, there's no, you know, I can't win this. Good. Then that's actually good, because then you can go, oh, look at this. I'm actually scared. I find it scary, which is another word for unsafe, that I almost don't know what to do here. It's good. Explore that.
Well, you don't know what to do because the goal of you, through this split definition of abundance and lack, is to feel ultimate unsafety that is actually the signal which you're vibrating into the world.
Right.
And then you can go, oh, look, how does this actually make me feel? Oh, fuck, it makes me feel like I'm stuck and I have nowhere to go. Like, if I don't understand this concept, that's a trigger. Like, whatever the fuck Tanya is saying right now, I don't understand it.
Don't understand it, can't get out of it.
Oh, it's a trigger. Like, and I don't even want to listen to continuation of this because she just said something that basically makes me think that there's no way to get out of this.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck feeling unsafe for the rest of my life.
Understanding something is the only way I can control it. So therefore I can't control it. So therefore it's unsafe. Yes.
Oh, and then the depth of the despair of a human experience comes on board, and then you want to terminate the transmission.
Yeah.
Because somebody's saying something that is triggering you into unsafety.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because that is an opportunity for you to go, wait, what is it that I actually think and afraid of when I think that I am in lack?
Yeah.
Because if you're currently sitting, what is it that you dream of when you think of abundance? Well, abundance is never about money. It's about like, oh, how people perceive me. Or in my case, it's actually tied to food. Like, oh, I'm not going to have food or shelter. Well, okay, if I don't have food and shelter, then what is it? Oh, I'm ultimately unsafe and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I am scared of being ultimately unsafe and vulnerable.
Yeah. With me, it's time. Money buys time back because time is limited. Because I have this fundamental definition that there's only so much time
to do what?
To live.
Because so many of your lives and trauma and karmic cycles have had you be ripped away early in life.
Maybe, but you know, it's all. I mean, it's a little morbid, but it's like, you know, I'm almost imagine, maybe not now, but I have imagined, you know, basically a clock counting down. Don't know when it's going to hit zero though. But you know, I can, if I have money, then I don't have to waste those seconds doing something I don't want to do. I can enjoy. Money is a way I can buy time back. I can't necessarily extend the clock, but I don't have to spend those seconds working or doing whatever. I can spend them doing something more enjoyable.
But you're splitting an ideas into enjoyable and not enjoyable.
True. Yeah.
Why? What is there? Doing something that is not enjoyable is what?
Well, well, it feels like wasting my time.
Okay, and
I
then
see.
wasting
I
your
say
time
that
in
like
what?
it really made it. It really. I felt it so much more viscerally back when I had a job that I had to go to every day that I really didn't like. And so there was this idea that if I had money, I won't have to go to this job. And boom, I get 40 hours a week back that I can actually live instead of,
But what does living?
selling it.
What does living mean?
What does that mean? I don't even know if I knew what living means. Living meant not selling my time to the company.
And so then therefore living meant what? If you're not living, then what does living
Not
look
living,
like?
you're dying.
No, I'm serious.
I think I am too. It felt like a slow death. If I'm not like it,
But
in
see,
as much as it's a complete position of lack, that there is that time is this incredibly limited, incredibly precious resource, the most precious resource on earth.
to do what with?
To live.
To,
Am I going in circles?
yeah, you're not going into the actual trigger.
I would, if I don't have the time, if I can't spend the time how I want to spend it, then it's a wasted life.
And wasted life means what? If you were to waste your life, what is the fear there?
Something about being unfulfilled. See, it doesn't feel unsafe. It doesn't feel unsafe. It isn't safe. Because it's like still dying at the end. But like not dying happy. Dying sad and full of regrets.
Regrets about what though?
Regrets about not living or not being able to or not being allowed to live a life that I wanted to live, to explore life in the way that I wanted to explore life.
So if somebody's not controlling you or not forcing you, and you have a
there
free
it is.
will,
It's out of control. It's out of control. If I have to sell my time to the company because I don't have money, then I don't control my life. I don't control my destiny. So it is unsafety. Yeah, it's unsafety through control. There it is.
do you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but right, the most optimal way to explore that is to see that at the core, your vibratory nature of self communicates to the world, provide me all the examples of lack of time. Right. And you know how you're very visceral that you're going to live forever, or like you're going to live till whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you say that, and you have been saying that for as long as I have known you, but there's some sort of trapped energy of what that means to you. Like, oh no, I'm going to live forever. Right. Because I'm going to have as much time as possible. And as much time as possible to do what? Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's this desire or this have to live forever or live till 100 in order to optimize time.
Right. No, there is. Yeah.
I think it's a control, but I think there's still something else, right? Because in that case is optimize time to do what?
Right. And there's nothing terribly specific other than enjoy it. Live life to the fullest.
But enjoying as opposed to not enjoying.
True.
Dualistic split. So there's such thing as living life and not enjoying life.
Right.
So what does that look like? Or
right.
What?
Which these days makes less sense than ever, of the idea of not enjoying life, whether it's, objectively good or bad. Right.
Don't compare against these days. I think you need to go back into what it meant to you back then.
Back then, I had very defined idea of certainly what I didn't want to do. And so doing that is therefore bad and wrong. And even if even
what you didn't want to do, stemming from your childhood, though, right? Like a work environment is just an emanation of the trapped energy of a
right.
child.
And that wasn't saying I don't want to work. It isn't that. It's that I
you
don't
don't want to
want
be told what to
I
do.
don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah, but that's coming from where? Lack of sovereignty.
Yeah.
Lack of sovereignty from the way you were raised.
Right.
You don't have a voice, and you're told what to do all the time.
Yeah.
So being told what to do is not necessarily like, oh, and therefore, because I'm being told what to do, therefore I don't want to do it. It's the principle of the idea that you don't have
Right.
sovereignty.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, in practice, does it make a huge difference? No, but in principle, it's the principle of the matter. Yeah.
Well, the
Right.
principle is you having sovereignty and not being controlled by somebody else's thumb who's pushing you down.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like emanation wise, right? Like you being raised by a narcissistic mother and you having to experience that truth. In your past lives, did you feel like you had sovereignty to do what you wanted as opposed to feel like you were lost to either a greater cause or somebody else's
No,
cause?
that's the Knights Templar life. That's exactly it.
Right.
It's the same thing.
So this emanation of self is not much different than the emanation of you as a Knights Templar in the sense that you are lost and you're not exercising your sovereign choices because you're lost to either a bigger cause that you think you want to emanate or you have no other option because this is the calling of the world.
Right. And it's like, we've crafted our work life to where, we run our own company and everything. And so it's soothed in that sense, but that just means it isn't
Poked. Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah. No, but it's important. Like, right, the reason why we have these discussions is because you can stay in peace, but those things are still emanating out of you as like beacons out into the world asking for a specific experience.
Yeah.
See, to me, when I there for a while, this was a couple of years ago, I was having these really, really bad dreams. And I'm like, I asked them, I'm like, why am I having these really, really bad dreams? And they're like, well, wouldn't you rather learn your life lessons through a dream than through the interpretation of physical reality? And I went, well, yeah, I guess. And so the lessons, right? These objective lessons you can derive can come from as simple as honestly exploring your psyche in a conversation that is in no way triggering.
Right.
In a dream that is in no way,
right,
when you wake up, feels real.
Safe spaces that don't, I don't want to say don't matter, but they're low risk, low impact.
Based on the interpretation of three-dimensional reality.
Right.
Past life regression or past life experiences. I'm not saying you have to go to professional. You can just basically do this on your own. Like there's tutorials on YouTube how to do that, and I can do one. Right. But like you dive into this life that you can have this whole snapshot of, right? And that would still be emanation of the energy that you're vibrating right now, because the only reason you would remember that life or see that life or interpret that life is if it's somehow still vibratory energy in your electromagnetic field into this expression of reality.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So your Knights Templar life is there, and it's probably the most visceral one that you remember, is because it's quite literally still represented in the trapped pain, unintegrated version of self that you experience here in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right.
To cap it off with dying young and early. So there's more lost time.
Yeah, dying early. But remember that other one that you remember where you drowned.
Yes. I died even younger on that one.
Yeah. You had no choice. You had to run away. You had to, right, which is kind of like you're trapped. Not like if you, right, you had to go and you had to leave, which is not sovereignty.
Right.
You're trapped into this decision. Right. And then disaster happens and you die young.
Not only that, but I could almost see it coming because I was on board a ship of someone who's really, really sketchy. So it's like it all felt probably shouldn't be doing this.
But you trapped yourself into a non-sovereign decision processes. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And in that lifetime, the reason why it's coming up is because it's quite literally related to the same decision processes of Knights Templar. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Now, in that case, you were leaving your loved ones and you were betraying versions of your heart, maybe not for love, but for like parental love or child love or whatever. And then Knights Templar, you're betraying your love from the like romantic, but romantic love, if it's energetically connected to an embodied version of your truth, is actually cosmic. Do you see what I mean? The reason why you feel that love so much more viscerally than any love you've ever felt is because it's when you die, you perceive the cosmic connection of love.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the love that you allow yourself to feel here.
Right. We hold it back and limit it.
Here.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so the love that you and I feel is not on the same level as that love, is because you have separated yourself out of three-dimensional space there and you perceive it cosmically at the multidimensional level.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why whenever you're connected to your higher consciousness or to higher vibrational field, the love there is completely overwhelming. Because we perceive the honest reality of it, as opposed to limited emanation of its interpretation.
Yeah.
So like past life, dreams, just talking through therapy or through friends or whatever is a way to start to explore that. Without the alternative is you go out into the real world and you magnetize these experiences to you in order to have physical interpretation of it. There's nothing wrong with that. That is a way to experience world and to express world. Like Aiden tells me, like I said, well, you know what you're walking into. Do you want to? He's like, yes, I want to have this life experience. He said that to us before. Yeah. And I'm like, that is so interesting. He cognitively knows that he's walking himself into a clusterfuck and he wants to have that experience.
Yeah. Which, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, you and I did that and that's fine. But now we can kind of like choose whether or not we're going to walk into a clusterfuck or not.
Yeah. For the most part. Right. But, I called a very, very minor clusterfuck of mail to me to help point it out to myself.
Yeah.
And
vibrationally, you couldn't control yourself because your density got so triggered in the pain body that was still active, right? In the trauma that was still so active. In the beacon, right? You pulled yourself into that beacon to show yourself that that's the beacon from which you're pulling your reality from. That density, like, oh shit, like the reason why you brought it up to me is because you couldn't climb out of it, right? Like you recognized it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is too much. So you want to meditate. You're like, okay, let me try to discharge it to whatever. But then later, like we had cacao and then later, like you're like, oh, guess what? I had this email and you're still vibrating it. You're still not able to let go of it because the density is so low. And then the Mandelbrot said you were brought so far down is because you're feeling the visceral experience that this is actually where you're sending out into the universe. As you're like, hey, this is what I'm asking for. You're quite literally standing with a huge poster saying, please provide me experiences of ultimate unsafety.
Right.
Like, I think the world is there to get me. Please show that to me.
Yeah. Come get me.
Yeah. But that's it.
Right.
Right. Which is beautiful.
Right.
Because that is quite literally how our world is designed. But like the second you start to understand that, I think it's beautiful because it gives you sovereignty. Like, I don't want to end the podcast on this note of like, oh, therefore you're fucked. No,
the end.
Like that is your ultimate goal. Your goal is to ultimately feel that. So then you understand yourself. You can accept that within yourself and you can choose to then curate the experiences out of that space.
Right.
That is what Jesus said. If you're not Christian, it doesn't even matter. Jesus was not Christian. But Jesus' point is gnosis, know thyself. That is what it means to know thyself.
Right.
Is to realize that I'm over here with the banner. There's not enough fish to feed 3,000 people. And the second you understand that is what the cumulative consciousness is vibrating, and you can step out of the cumulative consciousness and go, I understand how the reality works, how reality is designed. and I vibrate at an electromagnetic field where I can offset other people's vibrational fields, which is what he did. And if you want to believe in that story, whether or not it's real or it's a parable or if it's just a metaphor or whatever, you then design a reality where you offset the reality of however many people were out by the sea starving, where he designed the fish to come out. Was it the fish or was it bread? I don't know. I'm not a Bible.
There's fish and bread. There was five loaves of bread and 2 fish, or 2 loaves of bread and 5 fish.
Right, but that story is an example of a cumulative consciousness vibrating at a specific vibrational field of lack, right? We're in lack. And then the opposite, therefore, is abundance. And Jesus comes in and he's an electromagnetic field of, I understand the complete nature of luck and abundance, right? And so therefore, I transverse the reality where both of them exist and both of them are beautiful. And he's simply choosing an outcome where both of them are equal in vibration.
That's funny you say that, because when I heard that story, young, I always pictured it as this nearly empty basket of 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, which is, that might feed a family, but that's it, being passed around, and everybody's taken maybe a fish and a loaf of bread out, but it never gets empty. There's always two fish and 1 loaf and 5 loaves of bread. And so it's always both in lack because there's not enough in the basket, and yet it's also abundance because yet everybody ends up getting something out of it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's how I always picture that going.
Yes, that's perfect.
It's basically some sort of magic basket, or I don't know what. It was how I thought about it as a kid. Jesus, now it's a magic basket. Here we go.
Yeah.
Or something.
But the magic basket from this situation, the stimulation of earth, material, baseline, reality, vibratory frequency encompasses the understanding and the possibility, and then thus understanding of both in such visceral way, and acceptance of both in such a visceral way that you simply choose a way. And in his example, because he understands it, he knows thyself, he understands it, and then therefore he chooses a preference of where there is unlimited fish and bread.
Yeah.
And everybody else, because they believe that he's fucking magic, just goes along with him because his vibratory field is pulling everyone out of their bullshit.
From this, there is enough continuum. It's one or the other, and really usually the denser one will win.
The denser one will win, yes.
Only from a higher place where you can go, oh, look, there's that continuum down there, but I'm not on that continuum. I'm above it.
No, I am it. I am the continuum. He is both lack and he is both abundance. Right? Consciousness, you are in the consciousness. That's what people don't understand, right? Jesus is inside the consciousness. You're not outside the consciousness in lack or not. You're inside the consciousness, which is the wholeness of all experience, of all emanation of possibilities of self. And when you realize that you're inside the consciousness and you interpret your Earth's baseline based on these two emanations, then you just go to any point of consciousness and choose the emanation that you're perceiving.
So it's more like the everyday viewpoint is, I see this continuum of lack to abundance that is external to me.
That is part of me. No, it's not external to me.
The wrong way that people look at it normally is I see this thing as this force outside of my control that, right? And I sure hope I land over here, but I might land over here.
And you fear either because
I don't want this, but I sure want this.
Yeah, you split the reality because you came here to facilitate lack and pain and suffering, to feel the visceral experience of your human emanation.
Right. Instead of, I am this continuum.
I am everything. Right? Like when people say you are the creator and like everybody is fucked up and lost in that statement, be like, well, what does it mean to say I'm God? No, just take the fucking God out of it. You are everything. You hold the pitch and challenge of everything. You come here as a child with everything. And then you choose based on your destiny or your signature, like your name. your emanation, your purpose in life is to then split the shit apart and then experience this one very nuanced interpretation of lack or of unsafety or unlove or abandonment in order to make your way back into your understanding that you are everything and you just came here to experience this very minute expression thereof. Does that make sense? Like it's not a reversal of the thinking, it is expansion of your thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Why we don't feel like we're attached to everybody else is because we're judging everything from the dualistic standpoint. And we're judging good and bad, like, oh, it's bad to be poor, but it's good to be rich, because it's still a dualistic standpoint, right? Back to our conversation of acceptance. Oh, there's such thing as acceptance. Well, because you believe there's such thing as
Rejection.
Rejection. Yeah, sure, right. And there's such thing as love, and then there's such thing as fear or hate or whatever, right? All splits of oneness. But because you come here to experience the split of oneness. Rudimentary, if you're looking at it from the baseline of three-dimensional up, it doesn't sound positive. But if you start to understand and empower yourself with this understanding, you are the most powerful being. Not because I want you to feel empowered, but because you came here, took your own power away in order to then find your own power.
Yeah, right.
There was no one in this story other than you. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no politics, there's no science, there's no religion, there is no poverty, there's no abundance, there's no one other than your choice and what is your story.
Yeah. And you don't need money, you don't need lack of money. You don't need to live in a cave, you don't need to live in a mansion. You don't need
there's nothing other than your painted story. And the visceral experience of you as that painted story. It's like a beautiful canvas. It's like a tapestry, right? Why they say it's a tapestry is because it has these tiny little things. And like, that's why I'm so impressed with tapestries. Like, how in the heck do you know where the leg starts and when the unicorn horn begins? You know, like, it's just a tiny slow, but that's what it is. It's the mastery of seeing the whole vibratory field of potential and projecting into that tiny little cross section of this is where the unicorn horn is and this is where the leg is, right? And like that's the transition in that color. But well, who does that, right? Like I'm not talking about like modern day tapestry. I'm talking about
the ye old
tapestry, right?
It's
if you look at the one strand, you're
so
like,
impressive.
What am I looking at here?
It's like I couldn't draw that, let alone weave it.
Weave it with colors.
Yeah.
It's a thread that is a choice between, the dark and the light.
Okay, your eyes keep crossing when you look at your fingers.
Well, if you look at the tapestry, right? Like, and we have toured the Vatican and we have toured all these ancient castles in Western and Eastern Europe, right? And they're just magnificent. And like, if the Vatican is the easiest place to look at them, and you just get lost in the details.
The Louvre.
Oh, does the Louvre have a lot of tapestries?
I thought so.
I know the Vatican does. Like Vatican, Vatican obviously took them. But if you look at them, that is what the universe is this immense amount of interpreted wholeness that is the one tapestry. And you are the tiny cross section, like not even a dot, the cross section between like where it transitions between the unicorn horn and somebody's leg. And you're like, how do you do that transition? That shading of the two. Right? And you're like, what? That is you right there in that cross section of that one tiny little speck of tapestry. And everything else is the wholeness. But you are that wholeness. The cross section is the wholeness. Like without you, there will not be a tapestry. Without you in that cross section of the two little threads, there's no existence. Unless it's a weird metaphor, but that is how I always viewed the universe, and that's why I'm always fixated on tapestry. We don't have any tapestries, but and to get a tapestry of that type, I mean, the fact that Vatican has them tells you the cost associated with it. But again, there's the judgment.
There's the position of lack.
There's the position of lack, right? Yeah. But I would feel I would feel like I'm doing disservice to humanity in order to possess something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Cats would be pee on it, scratch it up.
Well, no, like like to stare at it is to ascend your consciousness, right, into the truth of gnosis.
Yeah, I mean that's a very William Henry position where like these or way off topic maybe religious paintings, especially old religious paintings, are literally designed to alter your consciousness into a higher state and help with ascension.
Yeah. But in this case, I guess if you interpret tapestry from the standpoint that I do, and then you look at it, it is overwhelming because
Right.
I see it as a universe. Do you see what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I just use the tapestry as this dive into the concept that I interpret it as the wholeness of the universe. And what is it like to experience the transitional phase of the tapestry maker from this shade of, unicorn horn, white/gray, depending on the shadow that you want to create there, into like somebody's leg. And you're like, how do you do that? Right. But how do you do that is how you create consciousness and emanation of consciousness into me as this body. I know that's weird, but that's just how I have always seen the universe. So, well, I think we're way off time. So,
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.